All right, let's talk about the Steelers offense finding a way to get the victory. Listen, this was not a pretty day from start to finish. It took some time to get going, but they were able to make the couple plays they had to, really the one key play they had to towards the end. So I want to talk about kind of why there was so much of a struggle, but ultimately why they were able to get a victory. So yeah, let's just get into it. Let's start off with this play. So this drive definitely, I think, gave the Steelers their mindset that they were going to have in this game because they had a really long drive, a 12-play drive, and in my opinion, this is kind of one of those things why I always criticize this strategy, because here it's going to work out. So it's going to be a running play. You have both your guards going to be pulling over to the offense's right. Also, I know it's a little, there's a lot of rain on the lens. This is, the footage we have. This isn't anything with, me. This is ESPN. But anyways, watch what happens. You see that Rudolph's going to take the snap. He hands the ball off to Harris, and, pointed the line of where he's going to go. You can see the rushing lane that he has, kind of, just to the left of the right hash marks. Basically, it's really well blocked here. I mean, this is a great situation. Harris is able to run, picks up the first down, picks up the touchdown, and quite frankly, a 6-yard rush felt like an explosive play given the way that drive went. It was a lot of set up convertible third downs and then convert the third down situation, which, okay, I can understand the logic. A lot of rain. While Rudolph has played well these past couple of games, he still is Mason Rudolph. How much faith can you have in this situation? I get it. But going over here, there's the downside. Other than the obvious downside of you're limiting possessions, which means that, usually limiting possessions favors the underdog. In this case, in this game with the Ravens backups, they are the underdog here. But also, so it's a 3rd down and 3, and what this kind of philosophy does is it means that you really have to be perfect. On that 12-play drive, they were more or less perfect, but on a play like this, where it's a 3rd down and 3, I've highlighted Kyle Van Noy, who was, quite frankly, a menace in this game, and watch what he's about to do. Watch him win his one-on-one matchup immediately, and that was on Freiermuth, who's, tight end I like, but did not make a good block on that one, and because of that, it was really well untackled, too, right when the contact was made, I thought it was going to be a 1st down. Well, that creates a 4th down and 1 at the 19, which, okay, listen, numbers would say to go for it, but I also understand why the Steelers didn't want to in this situation. But now you give the ball to the other team, and that's kind of the issue, right? All it takes is one mistake for things to go wrong. Like you could say, in the first half, 2 fumbles, what are you going to do? Well, if you can get the ball down the field quicker, that's less plays where you can fumble. This one was a bad play. It was a bad play. So they had already gotten a sack that knocked them kind of out of field goal range, but then they had gotten back closer to field goal range. Right here, it'd be a 52-yarder, and listen, Boswell's a great kicker. 52 yards is a bit of a long field goal in these conditions, right? I mean, at the end of the day, if it's the end of the half, take a chance, but you'd like to gain more yards, and you have 12 seconds and a timeout to do so. But check out that one-on-one matchup right here. That is going to be Dan Moore Jr., who's played not great this season, to put it mildly, for Pittsburgh, and watch what happens. You see that Van Noy is going to win this one really quickly. On top of it, down the field, Jalen Warren's the check down, but he hasn't gotten to a position where you can really hit him at this spot. Rudolph is looking further down the field, so it's a bit of a longer developing play, which is a bit of a question mark here. Because, listen, okay, this is, we're at about 2 1/3 seconds into play. Usually you get about 2.5 seconds. So this is a quick pressure. This is a very quick pressure, and that's part of the aspect. But also, it's a longer developing play, and part of that is just it's harder to get down the field when there is, when it's rainy. So because of that, getting a quick pressure in these conditions is usually going to lead to some good stuff happening. You see that he knocks the football out, and it ends up being a fumble. And, listen, that still matters that the Ravens recovered, because the Steelers could have tried a very long field goal or even just a Hail Mary if they didn't trust the field goal situation there. Instead, they can't get either. So this was definitely a very big play for Baltimore and a very not good play for the Steelers. Obviously, this play was exactly what they needed at the time here, where it's going to be man coverage that the Ravens are in. And it's actually a coverage designed to defend a pass in a pretty key way. It's, not just man coverage, but with 2 safeties deep. I mean, this is the type of situation where you don't expect a big play to happen against you. And in fact, you can almost argue it's a bit too cautious on just a 3rd down and 4 situation. Rudolph is going to take the snap, and it's Deontay Johnson. That's the receiver who just straight up wins his one-on-one matchup. I mean, you see he is open right here, and another thing to note is the player who I've circled in black, the safety there, he's not really in great position. He kind of looked like he started to move in to try to defend the pass, but essentially just took himself out of the play right here. So while there was a safety in that area, that safety is now out of that area. And so because of this, watch how Rudolph puts it right on the money and Johnson's off. I mean, I paused it right here. You see that he has a couple step lead on the corner who's trying to cover him right here. This is exactly what they needed, and kind of what I was talking about earlier of, the plays where you're trying to just get something positive to happen, get it a 3rd down and 3, and then make the 3rd down and 3 play work, and just hope you don't make a mistake. And while they kept making mistakes, eventually the defense is going to make a mistake as well. And being able to get that kind of explosive play was, again, it was just exactly what they needed. Now, heading over here, listen, it still wasn't perfect, right? I mean, there were still some issues. Something like this, zone coverage, they're going to try to flip the ball to Harris underneath. Watch as when Rudolph takes the snap, he is going to flip it to Harris. And you see, I mean, again, Baltimore's just over it. I think they got a little bit too predictable. And it's one of those things where it's fine if you want to play a conservative game. But if the defense knows you're playing a conservative game, well, again, you can still make it work. But, it helps when your defense is playing even better, right? Because right here, I mean, they're just not going to be able to pick up anything here on that 3rd down and 5 situation. So definitely not exactly what Pittsburgh was going for on a play like that. And again, if they make the postseason, you have to think that, again, hopefully the weather will just be different, but just in general, you have to think they'll be making more of an effort to at least get some downfield passing in there. Listen, they got the fumble at, towards the end. They were able to go up 2 scores. It worked out. You got the job done at the end of the day. This was not the prettiest of games, and especially with the TJ Watt injury, that just makes things really tough. But at the end of the day, it's better to have a bad day in a win in this scenario than to have a, good day in a loss. So getting the victory is all that they needed to do. Now, again, they're still not in, right? They need a Buffalo loss or a Jacksonville loss, and you have to think they're going to be really, rooting hard tomorrow for one of those 2 things to happen. And listen, it's possible. You need a favorite to lose tomorrow. That's never a good scenario, but hey, you get 2 shots at it, so you have, definitely some hope here if you're Pittsburgh. It's not quite like a couple years ago when they needed a tie to happen on the last game of the season, and then it almost did, which that was fun. But it's not quite that kind of scenario. This is not a perfect day, but you know what? At the same time, bad weather, playing a division rival that just always plays you tough, no matter the situation. The defense did legitimately look great, but I already decided to make a video on the offense. And, offense didn't have its best day, but you get the win anyway. And I'm assuming they'll be better if they can make it into the postseason, if this isn't the end of their season. So, yeah, those are my thoughts. What are your thoughts? Let me know in the comments below. Always love hearing from y'all. And, of course, as always, thanks for watching.